This is my wedding suit. Don't ask me to button it. No. Oh, thank you. Oh, ready? That's going to be in my script tonight.
It's not in the script.
All right, you ready to go?
That's David Duquesnoy. That's the third. That's without.
Okay.
These are the ones for scholarships. I'm just going to give them to Amy to give to them, not to you.
What was all this about? How you feeling? Good, thanks.
How long do you think we're going to be here tonight, huh?
Oh, I thought it was going to be quiet when I'm walking. I'm like, what the hell?
So did I. I was like, oh.
Are we ready? How you doing? The regular meeting of the Annapolis City Council on Monday, July 8th, 2019 will be called to order at 7:02 p.m. At this time, would everyone willing and able please stand for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Mayor, after a very emotional month of memorials and anniversaries, etc., I want to welcome my pastor, the Reverend Dr. Carletta Allen, to give the invocation.
Thanks, Carletta. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us pray. Holy One, we gather together in the warmth of this night, mindful that there are those who are not enjoying it. We gather together in this place that we call chambers. And in this place, there are echoes of joy and excitement, celebration. And in these chambers, there are echoes of sadness, homelessness, food insecurity, concern about gun violence. All of that echoes in the walls of these chambers. And so we come together as community to celebrate. And we come together as community to fix what is wrong, to make this world as it is what it should be, one life at a time. So be with those who legislate, be with those who cry out to be heard, be with those who have power, that they may use it to your glory and to the honor of all humankind. Amen.
Okay. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is the oath of office for Ward 6 Alderman.
All right, I hope you're all here for this because this is a very exciting time.
Did you call the roll? Okay.
So, Dewan. All right.
Gosh.
Repeat after me and state your name. I
Dewan Gay,
do swear
do swear
and affirm as the case may be
and affirm as the case may be
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of alderperson
execute the office of alderperson
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of this state
and laws of this state
and the Charter and Code of the City of Annapolis.
and the Charter and Code of the City of Annapolis.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
Your mum and your sister want to come up for a picture? Yeah, family up if you guys want to come up for a picture, all the family. Mum?
Sorry, I want to make sure my grandma was able to get up. Come. Ready? Yes, yes, ready. Are we good?
All right, Dewan, you get to take your seat up here now, so we can swear you in. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley.
Here.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Here.
Alderman Payon.
Here.
Alderman Pennell Charles.
Here.
Alderman Finlayson.
Present.
Alderman Rodriguez. Alderman Gay. Alderman. Alderman Savage.
Present.
Alderman Arnett.
Okay, Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda. First item.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended to add a City Council citation for Mr. David DeQuizno. Could I get a motion on that, please? So moved. Second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is our ceremonial items, beginning with a proclamation to Major League Lacrosse.
Just put them all together.
Okay. Should take them all. Okay. Leonardo Acosta, Dimitri Brown, Jamari Eads, Chris Hernandez. You guys all. Michaela Sims. Any of these names, please come forward. Sidra Tahir, Cameron Thomas, Keisha Addison, Nasia Beckles, and
Mr. David DeQuiznio.
David DeQuiznio.
We're gonna leave that here for a minute? Okay. You know what?
Where are their citations?
They have, they're just waiting for you.
Okay. What am I calling out for?
You don't need that.
Okay, cool.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Kevin Krause with the Annapolis Police Department. I'm the commander of the Community Services, and the mayor will be joining us here shortly. I would like to congratulate everyone that's standing up here in front of you. I'm going to read the names and just go over a little bit real quick. So, we started a scholarship program in 2017. The Annapolis Police Department was celebrating 150 years, and we decided that we were going to do a scholarship program. We offered 3 scholarships our first year, 2 scholarships our second year. Fundraising was really, really good this year. As you can tell, there are 9, or will be, there is actually a total of 9. There's 8 of them here tonight. We also got an anonymous donor this year who donated $5,000 to go out to the victims of the Capitol Gazette shooting. So I would just like to talk a little bit about each person, actually just announce each person's name. So the people that won the original Annapolis Police Scholarship, which is $1,000, is Leonardo Acosta. If you could like step forward or raise your hand or something so somebody can clap for you real quick. And Cedra Tahir. All right, now the next 5 that I have announced, they are actually in honor of the victims of the Capitol Gazette shooting. So Demetria Brown. He's given his award in memory of Rob Hyacinth. Jamira Eads. She's receiving her award in memory of Gerald Fishman. Christopher Hernandez. He's receiving his award in memory of Rebecca Smith. Michaela Sims. She's receiving her award in memory of Wendy Winters. Cameron Thomas. He's receiving the award in memory of John McNamara. Like I said, this year we raised a lot more money than we ever thought we could with our scholarship program. We hope to continue to do that. We had 9 people that were actually eligible this year for the scholarship, so we didn't want to leave 2 people out. So the first 7 that I mentioned, they get a $1,000 scholarship, but we also gave out 2 $500 scholarships this year to Keisha Addison and Najee Beckles. Sorry, Beckles. Thank you. All right, these are their award winners, so we'll get some pictures real quick.
Hey, can you guys squeeze in?
Next. Thank you very much. On behalf of the citizens of the City of Annapolis, we are pleased to confer upon you this City Council citation in recognition of nearly 15 years of service to the Planning Commission. You have served as both a member and chair. You brought your engineering education and professional experience to deliberation, presented facts, asked the difficult questions, and considered the unintended consequences of every decision and phrasing of the Commission's findings. You reminded fellow Commissioners that a city that depends solely on automobiles eventually strangles in its own traffic. You participated significantly in the administration of the city through regular annual reviews of the draft budget, where you asked questions and understood details. You infused the Commission with your own interpretation of Eastport sensibility, reflecting your neighbourhood pride. You presented unfailing civility to both applicants and concerned citizens. Thank you so much for all your service. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'd like you to... 15 years of selfless volunteerism, so I'd love you to say a couple of words if you would like to.
I would very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have a long list of people to thank. First on the list is my lovely wife, Sally, who would constantly, on late night commission nights, would have to reassure the dogs that I would be home soon to walk them, and sometimes that meant midnight. I also would like to thank Mayor Ellen Moyer for appointing me, Mayors Cohen and Panelides for continuing to support my being on the commission. I want to thank my fellow commission members. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for supporting my transitioning to the Transportation Board. My interest in transportation is what got me appointed to the Planning Commission in the first place, when during a transportation visioning session, former Planning and Zoning Director John Arison, he pointed at me, he said, "You, come here, I got a job for you. You know too much." And that's how it happens. So we do live in a time where we have serious transportation challenges and limited resources to deal with them. And so I look forward to coming back here on Thursday evening at 6 to discuss my views and what I can bring to the Transportation Board. And I also would like to conclude by saying, particularly for the younger folks, boards and commissions, and in particularly the Planning Commission, is an opportunity to help write the story of the city going forward. And so if you are concerned about land use issues, why this project got built this way or that project got built, please get involved. I can tell you from firsthand experience, I actually got more out of being on the Planning Commission than I put into it. I'm so thankful for the chance to learn and grow, and I would encourage everybody to give it some consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for not leaving us.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Brown. We have a proclamation here for you. Thank you so much. Great to meet you. Cheers. Thank you. That's cool. Trying to get everyone up at once. So, whereas the first Westerners to encounter lacrosse were French Jesuit missionaries in the 1630s, who witnessed American Plains Indians playing in what is now the United States of America and Canada. Whereas today's lacrosse descends from a resemblance game played in Onondaga, Eastern Cherokee, Mohawk, I didn't get a chance to rehearse this one, sir, Ojibwe, Chickasaw tribes, whereas lacrosse is one of the oldest team sports in North America, and it's actually played a fair bit in Australia, I just found out. Yeah, so many people in there. Did you really? Awesome, cool. Whereas in the 20th century, many United States and Canadian high schools and colleges adopted lacrosse as a league sport, whereas in 1999 Major League Lacrosse was founded in the United States of America, and whereas Major League Lacrosse began league play with the 2001 season and 6 teams, and whereas the premier 230 player from around the world play for Major League Lacrosse, whereas each year the Major League Lacrosse season runs from May to October, whereas Major League Lacrosse will, for the first time ever, bring their All-Star game to the Navy Marine Memorial Stadium in the city of Annapolis to be played before a crowd of 10,000 plus fans. You make sure you all get to that. What's the date on that again?
July 27th.
July 27th at the Navy Marine. It's going to be 7 o'clock. It's going to be awesome. Now therefore, I, Gavin Buckley, Mayor of the City of Annapolis of Maryland, do hereby proclaim July 27th, 2019 as Major League Lacrosse All-Star Day in the city of Annapolis. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cool, cheers. That's for you. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you so
really
much.
appreciate it. Thank you.
It's going to be a great day.
Yeah. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is petitions, reports, and communications, beginning with update from the mayor.
All right. You guys thought you were getting out of here early tonight? It's only like 50 pages. Put the timer on, Regina. Good evening, everyone. We are 1 day away from the US women's national team winning the World Cup. It was an amazing run for these women, not just the final match, which was thrilling, and I got to enjoy it with my wife and friends at a pub here in Annapolis. Honestly, the entire series was thrilling, and what is fantastic is that because Megan Rapinoe is not going to the White House, we have her right here. Come forward, Megan. Yeah. She really did that. These women are successful on the world stage because of their ability, no doubt. But they're also there because of training and structures put in place to equalize women's sports in America. That only happened because members of Congress thought it was important. Title IX became law in 1972. It opened the door to opportunities for women in sport that will continue to grow for generation after generation. That investment is paying dividends. Here in Annapolis, I see it in the young faces at Pip Moyer Recreation Centre on a crisp fall day with our soccer shots clinics and our summer soccer camps and our winter soccer clinics. I want to offer a hearty City of Annapolis congratulations to these women and to all the young boys and girls and men and women who enjoy this sport. It's a great way to stay fit. Let's hear it for the team. Although we've just conducted the swearing-in of Alderman Gay, I would like to note that already, sitting here with the others, aldermen and alderwomen, it must feel official. You look official, and that's probably half the battle. Some have commented on your youth. I welcome the perspective, and I welcome all youth in our city to participate in city governance. Did you know that Roger Pip Moyer, who went on to become a 2-term mayor, won his 1961 council seat at age 27, but still makes you the youngest, which is awesome. So it isn't unprecedented for a young person to sit on this body and go on to great things. Thank you, Alderman Gay, for putting your name forward and doing the work of campaigning. I look forward to your input on governing. I'd like to thank all the residents who came out to vote in the special election. A lot of them are sitting out here. Want to give yourselves a round of applause? We love it when people take an active role in their own governance. The Mayor's Office participated in an exciting softball game against the Drug-Free All-Stars 2 Saturdays ago. None of the players from my team will be heading to the majors or the minor leagues anytime soon. But it was a great game with a wonderful organisation set up by Newton Gentry and Gerard Ferry, as well as our staff. Their work shone a spotlight on the resources available to people who are suffering through addiction. If you haven't been to the city's OD Free Annapolis website, please utilise this online resource for finding treatment options, ordering Narcan kits, fentanyl strips, finding out about needle exchanges and safe stations and more. We are halfway through 2018, and if the numbers hold for the second half of the year, it looks like some of our efforts are beginning to pay off. We have seen a reduction in the number of overdoses, a reduction in the number of Narcan deployments, and a reduction in the number of deaths in the city for 2019. I'm really proud of the last number because it is the first time that a number of overdose deaths have been below the 2016 numbers. We've had 3 overdose deaths this year, still 3 too many, but maybe we are headed in the right direction. If you know someone with a problem, please direct them to the city resources. That is annapolis.gov, keyword OD Free Annapolis. We are here to help. The Department of Public Works, David Gerald, shared a letter he received from visitors to the city at the end of June. The gentleman had come to the city, stayed the weekend at a hotel, enjoyed touring and dining out, and as they were set to leave the city, they dropped their car keys down a sewer grate on Main Street. That sucks, doesn't it? They thought the keys were lost, but 3 city employees came to the rescue: Mr. Asbury Parker, Mr. Corey Granger, and Mr. Joseph Hanna. They didn't give up on finding the keys. Here's what the letter said. Retrieval efforts pushed the keys down into the sewer main, so I gave up and went to Chicken Roofs for breakfast. Then Mr. Parker and Mr. Granger said they would try a little longer. We were seated and finishing breakfast when Mr. Granger walked in and gave me the keys. He said that they had pushed the keys down to the next manhole access point and retrieved them. I wish to let you know about our adventure and how 3 caring and professional employees of the City of Annapolis saved the day. Please pass my thanks to these fine gentlemen and accept my admiration for the quality of people in Annapolis who make your city such a fine place to visit. The ULI Action Committee continue their steady progress towards a fall report for the City Council. Most recently, they had the second group of working teams report to the Action Group at a meeting on June 26 at Pip Moyer. I'd like to give you a heads up to the next Maryland Hall talk, Reimagining City Dock, that we're doing in partnership with Historic Annapolis. This one will take place at 7 p.m. on July 16th at Maryland Hall with Dr. Tim Chapman, who will talk about autonomous vehicles and how they will change the character of cities. It is a free event. You can go online to Maryland Hall to learn more and simply show up. A little bit about this presenter. Here in Annapolis, we fuss about parking. Anyone heard that before? I'm not sure residents fully grasp how rideshare apps and bike shares and autonomous vehicles are going to fundamentally change transportation options for city planners, not only here in this historic city, but across America. Cities like Seattle, Indianapolis, Denver, Houston, and local cities like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and even Hyattsville are looking at these models and making adjustments to future transportation needs. Already young people are moving away from car ownership and seeking out a different way forward because they worry about their carbon footprint and climate change. but also because individual car ownership is expensive. I encourage everyone with an interest to come and hear this talk with an open mind. Bob Dylan offered this advice to folks stuck in the old ways some 40 plus years ago. Come, mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticise what you don't understand, for the times, they are a-changing. I did that for Brian. How many Bob Dylan concerts have you been to, Brian? 27. There we go. Transitioning from great rock poet Bob Dylan to Annapolis Poet Laureate Temple Cohen, the city hosted 3 events to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the Capitol Gazette tragedy. We had a Hope and Remembrance concert at Maryland Hall on Friday night, which was beautiful. I'd like to thank Margaret Davis and Emily Garvin from Maryland Hall, along with Reverend Kathleen Rolina and Reverend John Criswell of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Annapolis, for putting together this program. It was amazing. So, Temple's poem On the Border of Healing, which led into Charleston Mayor's John Tucklenburg's powerful rendition of When the President Sung Amazing Grace, was also very moving. We had music from Gary Wright and Leah Wise, the Eastport Oyster Boys, the First Christian Church of Annapolis Gospel Choir. Annapolis Filmsters presented a short film called And Then It Happened. This program capped off 2 days of events, including the convening of a Safe Cities Gun Summit at St. John's College. We had 4 panels at that event talking about everything from the history of gun violence to the public health threat to community action to policy proposals. Panelists included Senator Ben Cardin, County Executive Stuart Pittman, Alderwoman Rhonda Pindell Charles, Rick Hudsall from the Capitol as well, Dr. Ellie Gomez, Dr. Cassandra Crafisa, Dr. Kathleen O'Brien, Reverend Stephen Tillett, and Bishop Craig Coates, and representatives from from ACT, Mums Demand Action, the ATF, the NAACP, Annapolis and Anne Arundel County Police, and more. It was an amazing day with many thought-provoking conversations. Thank you to the aldermen and alderwomen. The other event that took place Friday morning, there was a memorial garden dedication in Acton Park. I encourage you all to visit the lovely garden that was planted in honour of Rebecca Smith, Wendy Winters, Gerald Fisherman, Rob Hyacin, and John McNamara. Acton Park was one of Rob's favourite places in the city. I'm glad we could offer a spot where people can go to reflect and contemplate in a place of solitude and beauty, right here in the heart of our busy city. The Department of Recreation and Parks will be responsible for maintaining the garden, and we thank them for their efforts. I can't end to talk about everything with the Capitol Gazette anniversary without speaking about the toll that gun violence has taken on our city in the past month. We lost Montre Say. Then last weekend, a young man was shot as he stood around with a group of friends. He was just 16 years old. His name was Elijah Wilson. He was lucid and talking when police and EMTs at the scene. Medical personnel said that his ability to walk and talk at the scene did not belie the seriousness of his injuries. As a precaution, he was flown to shock trauma. Unfortunately, he did not survive that journey. I've said this before, but it's worth repeating over and over and over. Until we get it right in this society, nothing, no thing ever is resolved or negotiated or changed in any way that is better when a gun is involved. Please lay down your weapons. Please treat others with respect and dignity. We're all brothers and sisters in the city. Work with me to end this violence. On another sad topic, we had no fewer than 6 people perish in local waterways, including a Secret Service agent assigned to the presidential detail, who drowned while kayaking near Eastport. Anyone can drown, anyone, I suspect the Secret Service agent was probably in excellent physical condition and knew how to swim. Don't go out alone. Don't go out without a PFD or a life preserver. Don't drink and boat. Know your surroundings and check weather conditions before boating. I do not like thinking about the 6 deaths in 5 days around Independence Day. We are heartbroken for the families, and our condolences go out to their loved ones. Let's stay safe out there on the water. Later tonight, we are going to discuss Alderman Tyranny's proposal for parking fees at City Dock. I want to remind everyone that city residents can get 2 hours of free validated parking by showing their ID at the SP Plus office at 60 West Street or the Hillman Garage on weekends. They'll give you a pass to insert into the kiosk as you exit Park Place, Hillman, Knighton or Gott's Garage. Last week, Pastor Cheryl Menendez approached my office with an offer of £9,000 of food to give away. They were not non-perishables. They were fruits, vegetables, whole chicken, ground turkey and beverages. We were able to offer up 2 rooms at Pitmoy Recreation Centre and within a few hours open the doors to a free food pantry. This was for anyone who felt they needed food to feed their families. This is important in an area where 1 in 10 are food insecure. We posted the notice of the free food pantry to the city Facebook and Twitter feeds, and within a few hours all the items had been picked up by families in need. Just want to give a round of applause to that. It was a great way to show the power of working together as a community and using social media to get the word out. We'll hopefully get a little more notice next time. But when someone comes knocking at your door to say they've got donated food and want to give it away, you bend over backwards to make it work. Thank you to Director Archie Trader at the Recreation and Parks for working with my staff under a tight timeline. They are working to continue these efforts with the Light of the World Ministries and the Restoration Community Development Corporation for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. I have a couple of notes on events that took place in the city. We got our summer pop-up camps that are ongoing. Recreation and Parks report that they have had more than 650 children and teens signed up for summer camp. Alderwoman Pindell Charles has been working with the Street Corner Ministries to attend to residents of public housing and subsidised housing. Our first ever Pride Parade on June 28th was huge. West Street was jam-packed with people celebrating in the hot, hot sun. I've never seen West Street that crowded. The Capitol said that thousands attended. Thank you to Claire Dupree and Jeremy Browning for organising this amazing first ever event. It was the most diverse crowd in terms of age, race and racial makeup. I was so proud to see so many churches participating. Their openness and inclusiveness was heartwarming. I also loved all the mums and dads. The dads had Proud Dad on their t-shirts. The mums were offering free hugs. I look forward to seeing this event grow year after year. I'd also like to give a shout out to Annapolis Transportation Crew and Santos Garcia, who manned the calling bus at the parade, where we served some 300 people who stepped on board to get cool. Thank you, Santos. Finally, we celebrated Independence Day in the city on Thursday. Felicia Nolan, alongside the crew at OEM, did a great job with that parade. We've got to give them a round of applause. The fireworks by Pyrotechnico were probably some of the best the city has ever seen. Just like Pride, a few days before, it was very hot. The City Department and Transportation were working to keep people visiting from suffering from heat-related problems. The city's Denzel Bowman parked the cooling bus in front of the Harbour Master's office and served 150 people. Thank you. So let's get on with the show. Thank you. Like I told you, you weren't getting out here early. The City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is required administrative submittals from the city manager.
Jody, you going to fill in?
Yes, I am.
Thank
We
you.
have two such submittals this evening. The first is GTCM 3219, which moved $18,500 from grant salaries in the police department to grant equipment. The police department came to us and wanted to move some of their Maryland Criminal Intel Network monies to equipment. And that was approved by the grantor. The second one is an $18,905 transfer within the Office of Law from salaries to legal services, so they can use some of their salaries appropriations to pay an attorney to assist with contracts while our contract attorney is out on leave. That's it.
Thank you, Jody. I did go over petitions and reports. Would anyone like to report? Alderman Annette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have a few pages. The Finance Committee will be meeting this Wednesday, July 17th at 10:30 a.m.
Thank you, Alderman Pindell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The the Public Safety Committee met on July 1st at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. The legislation that was before this committee was O2619, rental unit and short-term residential unit. Alderman Payon and I made a determination, and we found that this was not part of within the city code for us to take a look at. There were persons who came. We thanked them for their testimony as far as whether it was verbal or in writing. We also continue with our Spotlight and our Did You Know series from our police department, our fire department, and our Office of Emergency Management. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, September the 2nd at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Please watch, because you'll find out many things you did not know about our public safety teams within our city. Thank you.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Rules and City Government Committee will meet tomorrow, July 9th, 4 o'clock here in Council Chambers. We'll be taking up CA 719, City Clerk, O2319, the Office of Law, and O2619, rental unit and short-term residential rental licenses. That legislation does not fall under the purview of the Rules and City Government Committee, but it is on our agenda, so we will take testimony, but we will be limiting testimony to 3 minutes. So I welcome those who would like to speak to come tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Okay. And you know what else I thought? Shanika, do you want to come out and get a picture with Dewan? We have our amazing alderwoman, our ex-alderwoman Shanika Henson, Delegate Shanika Henson in the back there. I didn't see it. Yeah. Got some big shoes to fill. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is comments by the general public. During comments by the public may speak on any item that's not scheduled for public hearing tonight. The only piece of legislation scheduled for public hearing is O2519, the Watershed Restoration Fund.
Okay, first up to speak is Angel Trainer. Please come forward.
Hi, good evening. Name, address?
Yes,
Is that
thank
what
you.
I do? Okay. I've been to enough of them that I think I know. My name is Angel Trainer, and I live at 13 Silverwood Circle, unit number 4, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403. I'm here tonight. I wear a lot of different hats. My daytime job, if you will, is that I'm the executive director of Serenity Sisters, and what we do is we operate recovery homes, and we operate them right here in the city of Annapolis. But I do a lot of other things as well. I coordinate a prevention coalition because I like to work with the youth. Mayor Buckley, you said it, you stated it perfectly. Our numbers are coming down. Thank you. Our numbers are coming down for overdoses, both fatal and non-fatal. We work hard in the city. We have a lot of partnerships, and we work hard. One of the other hats that I wear is I am the coordinator of Recovery Anne Arundel. And this is a coalition that has been in existence in the county for the last 10 years. And about 2 years ago, as coordinator, I thought to myself, I'll work at the county level, but if I can't work in the city that I grew up in, what am I doing? I can tell you that some of you know me that are up there, some of you do not. And if you know me, then you know that I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is that for almost the last 12 years, I've not found it necessary to cause havoc in this city. Because there are officers that are still on the force that will tell you that I cause some havoc. But I choose to use my words and my actions more wisely now. And so that's what brings me here tonight. With my friend Ryan, Recovery Anne Arundel, 2.5 years ago, we came up with some priorities. The first priority, because everybody wants to do something now for this opioid epidemic and to help, the first priority that we came up with is a small pocket-sized resource guide that you can carry with you everywhere you go. And let me tell you, there is nothing like a couple of moms that are determined to get something done. And they got it done in about 4 months. Thus far, we have distributed about 12,000 of these within the city and within the county. Ryan has some. He would like to bring some up to you so that each one of you have one of these. And they're accessible. If it's up to my group, they will have them in 7-Elevens before it's all over with. The second priority that we came up with is much bigger, and that is to open a recovery community center right here in the city of Annapolis. Ryan and I were sitting in the back, and we were kind of laying out the land, and we were like, oh, 2 recovery houses in your ward and 4 in yours, and because Ryan and I work in the industry. And we want to partner, we want to work together, we want to have open communication, and we want to make sure that you're all informed on really what goes on in a quality recovery house or community center. So I will end with this, and I don't know if Ryan has anything else to say, and I'm happy to answer questions. Each one of you should have, except for Alderman Gay, and yours is on the way. We just weren't sure yet. Each one of you have received an invitation to an event that we have on July the 23rd. It's being held at the Lighthouse Bistro. Thank you to a wonderful 8th grade English teacher for teaching me the importance of written communication. I'm not going to lie, I didn't write those. I paid somebody to do it. So. But you taught me the importance of that written communication. So each one of you has received an invitation, and we hope that you will come out for that open, honest conversation really about what's going on in your wards and what it is. What do we do in a recovery house? And again, Ryan and I were talking. It is my goal every single day to take individuals who have suffered from a substance use disorder and return them healthy, happy, and whole as a productive community member. And that, in my opinion, that can't do anything but to enhance our community. So I'm happy to answer questions, and I'm happy to go and sit down too, because it makes me nervous up here. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm disappointed to hear that you were not the one who addressed the envelopes, because I have to tell you, I have never seen a Frederick M. Payon written as elegantly as it was on that envelope. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That young lady will be there on the 23rd. You can meet her in person, sir.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Angel, can you give us just a few words about your recovery walk that will be occurring in September?
Yes, so this year will be the 8th annual Recovery Walk, same organization, Recovery Anne Arundel. 8 years ago, we didn't think anybody would show up, and we were ecstatic that 75 people showed up that day. And last year, Miriam, we had about 650 people there. And it will be held this year on September the 22nd with a rain date of the 29th. And we just want to spread the word that recovery is possible. There are people out there that would have told you that I would never recover from my disease. They would tell you that I would die a hopeless addict. So it's. I feel like it's my job to get out there and let people know that recovery is possible. And if we don't reduce the stigma in our communities about substance use disorders, we're going to keep on fighting that battle. And I pray to God that the numbers don't ever go back up. So.
Alderman Gay?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You mentioned that there were 2 recovery houses in Ward 6?
In Ward 6, if I'm not mistaken, there are probably 4 or 5, and they're in a cluster.
Okay. Cool. Thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
Alderman Finlayson?
Angel, you're awesome.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Oh, thank you. I was awful to her in the 8th grade. I'm so happy to be with you on this side. It's awful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for everything
much.
you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Stephen Strawn. Please come forward.
Bear with me. My printer broke, so I couldn't write this out. I had to do it on the phone. So for the first time in public, I'm wearing glasses.
Welcome to the club.
Okay. I'm Stephen Strawn, 51 Murray Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland. I'd like to call your attention to the despicable cartoon that reared its ugly head on June 30th edition of the Annapolis Gazette. I was appalled at the way the paper took liberties at depicting the GOP party on the whole as a bunch of hood-wearing lowlifes whose only goal is to harm others. Oops. Please take a look at this piece of poor journalism and see if it were aimed at you. Would you not feel the same? The following is what was my correspondent with the editor of the Capital, Richard Hutzel. Richard. Your cartoon was in poor taste. There is such a thing as going too far, and even if you dislike the GOP, as it appears, that you have made it very clear, if you have made it very clear, you are the editor. He wrote back, thanks for the feedback. I had the cartoon and Mr. Garten had the opinion piece. They seemed to fit. Just to be clear, we don't like anyone. That is the point. Editorial cartoons seem to be dying out. No one has a sense of humor anymore. The divides are too bitter at this moment. Rick Hutzel. And my retort was, Rick, touché. If there is anyone with a sense of humor, it is me. I think, like you, that we are too sensitive. That being said, a sense of humor is not the point here. It is mixing up an argument with a controversial cartoon than pretending that it won't have an effect. I don't know if any of you saw this in the Gazette. Have you shown it to the? This really is a despicable piece, and I don't know if you can do anything about this. I'm open for suggestions, but I mean, if we're truly going to be one Annapolis, we have to stop this on both sides. It has to end, because we're not going to be one. We're going to be divided. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
As you can see, I don't speak up here.
Thanks, Dave. You're up next. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I want to just extend a warm welcome to our new alderman, Mr. Gay. Thank you. When I saw this cartoon in the paper, I wrote a letter to the editor. It was kind of distressing. And what I wrote to the editor was, on June 28th, 2019, I attended the Hope and Remembrance Memorial Service for freedom of the press and the 5 Capital Gazette employees who were slaughtered 1 year ago on that date while working at the Gazette's office. At the service, I listened to many speakers explain how important it is for us as a community to strive towards one Annapolis. Mr. Editor, you disavowed that dream 2 days later. You did that with your disgusting cartoon depicting the GOP as being allied with white-hooded members of the Ku Klux Klan. You used the cartoon to divide us. And because of you, a lot of good folk are being accused of sympathizing with the KKK simply because they are a Republican. You don't seem to care that it was mostly Republicans, led by Abraham Lincoln, who fought to end slavery. Your cartoon was hurtful to many people who consider themselves Republicans. By publishing that cartoon, you dishonored yourself, the Capital Gazette, and its employees. Shame on you. And then I said to him, do you think I'm misreading things, Rick? If so, please let me know what you're really thinking. And he responded with one word, phooey. So the next time, I don't know what you as a council can do about this. I'm sure none of you are happy about it. All that I would ask is that next time anyone thinks about calling the Capital Gazette our community newspaper, I hope you will straight away recall this cartoon until the Capitol issues a formal apology, not only to Republicans, but to the entire city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Thank you. All right, Shanika, you're next up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, distinguished members of the City Council, Alderwoman Finlayson, Alderwoman Pendle-Charles, Alderman Payon, Alderwoman Tierney, Alderman Arnett, and Alderman Savage. But I came here today to say congratulations to my alderman, Alderman Dewan Gay. Dewan, I wanted to say congratulations. It takes an incredible amount of courage to put yourself on the line and run for office. It takes even more courage to put yourself on the line and run for office again. So thank you for stepping up to serve the residents of Ward 6. I know that you care deeply about the communities that you represent, and that passion is going to take you far. The mayor invited me to come up and take a picture with you. I did take a picture with you, and I'm going to continue to do that because anyone who cares as much as you is going to go far. So I appreciate you serving as my alderman. I want to say to each of you that I did get an opportunity to sit down with Dewan. We did go over the comp plan, the budget, the CAFR, a few different things so that he would be ready for this position. Anything that I ever have to offer you in it, anything that I had to learn by figuring it out, please feel free to call me so that you don't have to take the time I did to bring yourself up to speed. I saw Alderman Savage even helping you tonight. You have an incredible collection of talent and people who really understand this city and who are effective in their own ways, each and every one of them. So thank you for stepping up to serve the city of Annapolis. I look forward to being that constituent who gives you a call when I have something that I need an alderman to solve. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Christine Schutzel is next up to speak. Probably.
Christine Schulstad, 707 Miller Road. I know that the ordinance for short-term vacation rentals is not on the agenda tonight, so I just will make this quick, but I want, and the homeowners that I represent, want to make sure it stays in the forefront of your minds. I own At Home Annapolis. It's a vacation rental management company here in Annapolis. I represent 14 downtown short-term vacation rental homes owned by both Annapolis residents and part-time residents. My homeowners are Naval Academy alumni who fell in love with Annapolis when they attended the academy and chose to purchase a home here. Their jobs may have taken them away for now, but they want to keep their home and return to return to their home for USNA events and then eventually retire in Annapolis. My homeowners are Naval Academy parents who frequently come to visit their mids. Eventually, those homes will belong to those mids when they're alumni. My homeowners are couples and families who live and work in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Northern Virginia. On weekends and whenever they can get out of the city, they come here to their second home in Annapolis to relax, play on our Chesapeake Bay. My homeowners are long life Annapolitans who reside just a tad out of the city limits, and they chose to have a second home in the heart of downtown Annapolis to enjoy themselves and for when friends and family come to visit them. My homeowners are not big conglomerates buying up 5+ homes downtown like Pac-Man. And my homeowners right at this moment may not be your constituents, but a lot of them were your constituents at one point and may possibly be again because they're coming back here to retire in those homes. So it's really important that you all listen to what they have to say. Ordinance 2619 is too broad and it needs some serious tweaking. The section regarding that a short-term vacation rental home is a homeowner's primary residence is too limiting, and it will force these families and these young couples and these local lovers of the downtown vibe to sell. And where are they going to take their second homes? Where are they going to take their tax money, their fun money that they spend downtown, restaurants, coffee shops, jewelry stores? They're going to take them to the beaches of Delaware, South Carolina, Maine, or Florida, but anywhere but Annapolis. The ordinance has many merits. My homeowners and I agree that they all need to comply with licensing, and they do. We also agree that everyone comply with the collection and remittance of taxes. We all, though, strongly oppose the limitation of only allowing a primary resident to own a short-term vacation rental home or a second home. They'd rather be considered part-time residents, not non-residents, because they're still here. They come on weekends and they come to do various things. We also oppose the restriction limiting the number of calendar days that a homeowner can rent their home. That needs to be looked at closely, and I'd like to talk to all of you about that when we have more time. I have asked a number of times to be a part of this process in the writing of this ordinance, and as an industry leader, I am again requesting that my suggestions be heard, and I'm happy to help with questions if anyone has any.
Alderman Savage.
Thank you for your testimony. And if you haven't already, can you send us an email so we have your contact information? Thank you.
Will do, yes. Anybody else? Great, have a good evening.
Thank you. I'm having trouble reading this one. Who lives at 102 Roosevelt Court? Sounds like Yaron. Oh, come through. Come on up. Sorry, I can't. Sharon, is it? No. You want to come forward? You're next one lined up to speak. Is that 102 Roosevelt Court? Sorry. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Alderman Women. Yeah, I'm here to support the short-term rental.
Just state your full name, full name, and then full address. Thank you.
Carl Yarrow, 102 Roosevelt Court,
Thank you.
21403.
Thanks.
So I'm here to support the ordinance, not as it's written, but the parts that apply equitably to short-term rental units throughout the city. I do have some concerns, and I'll be sending out as well an email with some of my points to the alderman. I wanted to see more about what it is that you all need. I live in Eastport, so I'm not concerned and don't have the parking problem that is for downtown. But anyhow, I am here just really to be an enlightened source. If somebody would like to ask me any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Alderman Arnett.
Thank you for coming out. I still owe you an email with some details, but I do appreciate you coming out and speaking.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, Ross, I couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
I was thanking you for coming out to speak and reminding myself that I still owe you an email response, which I'll be sending out.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Joran. Thank you. Next person is Charlotte McLean.
Hello, I'm Charlotte McLean, 30 Wainwright Avenue, 21403. I wanted to thank you, Mayor, for having such bright ideas. I think it's important to have bright ideas. The times they are changing, and I think they are changing in Annapolis, and that's a good thing. I've lived here since 1984, and I think I can speak to some issues regarding the KKK poster in particular. I remember, I guess it was in the 90s, I was in my front yard in Bay Ridge neighborhood, not Bay Ridge Gardens, but the Bay Ridge neighborhood, having my son's hair cut by a woman who had some children that she was babysitting that were African American, and down comes, on the road comes a car that throws out some leaflets around my mailbox, and they were from the KKK. So the KKK is alive and well in Annapolis. That's no secret. And there are Democrats also that are, part of the KKK, so let's not just pick on the GOP. But I'd like to say publicly, and I'm happy that this was all brought up, because I wanted to say publicly that we have a white supremacist terrorist in the White House, and that is no joke. And we are in a clear and present danger with him, because we are all at risk from his buffoonery. But at any rate, I did want to say that I wanted to thank you again for the Pride Parade. I had a couple of nurses. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've been a nurse the past 20 years at Anne Arundel Medical Center, and I've had a couple nurses that did move away from the Annapolis area because they didn't feel it was gay-friendly. And then I also had a very good friend of mine who moved in 2006 to the area. She was an African-American woman, my age, 61. She's my age. And so 10 years ago, whatever that was, 2006, she's the nurse and lovely, wonderful woman working at Anne Arundel Medical Center, and she moved here outside of Georgetown East Elementary School, and her nephew moved with her. He's 30-some years old, had a nice job in the area, but was pulled over in front of the Safeway for a broken taillight. 9 police officers pulled up around him, and he was scared for his life. And I felt, when she's telling me the story, she also has to worry about her grandson who's going to Kansas City to college. The young man that just got shot in Bowie. That's not a hate crime. In the paper it says it's not a hate crime. What do you mean it's not a hate crime? He just randomly gets shot? What about the poor child and the 22-year-old Tyreek and Glen Burnie? This makes me sick. And I guess people have different empathy levels or spectrums of empathy, just like you have different spectrums of autism, how people say. But, I know the fake, illegitimate loser president that we have of these United States, the chief Nazi in charge, is not paying attention to everyone. And I appreciate your paying attention to all the voices in Annapolis. And thank you. I had a lot more to say.
Thank you,
I'll
Charlotte.
bring that to your attention at another time.
Thank you so much. Jackie Sweets.
Good evening. I'm Jackie Sweetak. My husband and I own 26 South Street, and we live in Millington, Maryland. I am here to talk again about Ordinance 2619 and how I'm against a fair amount of it. Some of it's good. So I want to talk about how 11 years ago my husband and I purchased 26 South Street, and we took a chance and purchased this building that was so run down and was such an eyesore. 26 South Street is a holdover from old Annapolis, from a time that parts of Annapolis were truly industrial and blue collar, located directly across the street from the old City Hospital emergency room. 26 South Street used to be a working printing press with 2 apartments upstairs. The neighborhood of Acton's Landing, our current neighborhood, was redeveloped in the early 2000s to be high-end residential housing, but in fact the entire neighborhood echoes its past and remains zoned in the P or professional district. You may want to know why. Why would we invest in the city and not be residents in this building? I'm a graduate of the Graduate Institute of St. John's College. My father graduated with the class of 1942 at the Naval Academy. My office, the only job I've ever had, is at 23 West Street. Worked there since I was 22 years old. I'm rooted in the city of Annapolis. My husband at the time we purchased the building housed his company in Annapolis. We both had great reasons to invest in Annapolis, our time and our resources. Our goal was to build something in this town that we really love. We renovated the first floor of this building to LEED specifications. We used a lot of elbow grease to polish up the second floor apartments to be inviting and comfortable dwellings that they are today. Prior to their conversion to short-term rental apartments, the tenants were abusive to the apartments and they were always in terrible condition. Ever since the conversion to short-term vacation rentals, they've been in immaculate condition, and things that we put in place 7 years ago still look brand new. The dump that was our backyard is now an urban oasis for our tenants, our short-term tenants. Our sidewalk does not have a weed or a blade of grass growing from it. We've pulled our building into the 21st century, and she gleams proudly and looks like she belongs in our neighborhood now. No longer an eyesore, she's part of the fabric of the neighborhood. We are able to accomplish this because the apartments are short-term rentals. The two existing apartments generated enough money to sustain themselves and allow us to keep up with the required repairs to the building. This is not a lucrative business. This is a well-run business that is breaking even. We are ambassadors of Annapolis to our tenants. We've had Naval Academy personnel, Naval Academy families, boat show exhibitors and visitors, St. John's College families and students, lacrosse families from all over the country, and so many others stay with us. They're looking for a home base, and we provide them with a comfortable place to land. They explore Annapolis from our apartments, and they spend a lot of money at the businesses that are just a walk away from our location. I was born in Maryland, I live in Maryland, and I take my building ownership in Annapolis very seriously. Our building is well maintained. With this ordinance and the parking ordinance that has already been passed, you are creating a residents-only city culture. Annapolis is a city that is the capital of our state and home to one of our nation's service academies. You should be looking for ways to graciously accommodate all the people who want to come and visit this tourist town. Short-term vacation rentals are one of the many ways people want to stay in Annapolis. This ordinance, as it's written, will devastate the way that our building supports itself. Not allowing an out-of-city owner to operate and manage their short-term vacation rentals is not fair, and it's not legal. Inhibiting me to do business in Annapolis because of where I live is against the law. Please refer to the very recent Supreme Court ruling of Total Beverage versus Tennessee. The Supreme Court just last month reaffirmed that it's unconstitutional for government to discriminate or disadvantage a business operator because of their residency location. You'd be stripping me of my rights as a property owner, which you've already done with the parking regulations because of my place of residence. Although my building is grandfathered 7 spaces in my neighborhood by planning and zoning, because my place of residence is not the city of Annapolis, I'm not allowed to pay for the privilege of even one of those spaces, and I cannot purchase temporary passes for my tenants or my contractors. And restricting the number of days that I'm allowed to rent my short-term vacation rentals is equivalent to tying my hands behind my back and asking me to compete with others who have no operating day restrictions. Limiting the total number of days in a year that you can contract to rent is unfair, and I would also guess illegal. In the bigger picture, you're devaluing my investment in Annapolis because you are prescribing the type of purchaser you want for the city of Annapolis. You are saying primary residence preferred. You're reducing the field of investors who might be interested in buying in Annapolis because you're looking for residents first. As a licensed short-term vacation owner-operator, I have no issue with annual inspections. It's not fair or safe that others do not have to be licensed to rent their entire homes for boat show and commissioning week. I'm much more available to my tenants during these times. The city of Annapolis likes to think of themselves as business-friendly. Let's be honest, each and every rental, whether long-term or short-term, is a business whose income is required to be reported on annual taxes. With this ordinance, you're crushing my woman-owned micro-business. You're letting others consider investing in Annapolis know that Annapolis prefers primary residence over everyone else. You are discriminating, and you're not being business-friendly. To be clear, I support licensing and inspections where appropriate, tax collections where mandated and required, no primary resident requirement, no limitation to the number of days in a year that I'm allowed to do business. Thank you again for listening to me.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Sven Storm, next up. Did you bring ice cream for us all?
First of all, don't start the clock yet. I want to congratulate you. I called this morning because we were flooding. We've had trouble with the storm drain in front of our store for like the last week. And today it was up on the sidewalk and everywhere. I called your office. They responded rapidly. Not only did they respond, they sent somebody down to explain what the situation was in person. And I want to tell you that in the 43, almost 44 years that I've been down there, I've never received such sterling service. And I want to thank you. That said, I read the front page of the paper. I didn't know anything about this. You remember the Main Street thing and the bicycle path and how you got all this criticism for not talking to the businesses downtown. And there was no harsher critic, as I recall, than Ms. Tierney. Interestingly enough, she proposes this, and she hasn't talked to any of us down on the city dock. So now we're going to double the rates down on the city dock. Excuse me for a second. I just have to do this. So if you don't happen to travel, okay, with credit cards, that's what you need to pay the meter to stay down there if she's successful. That's what you need to have in your pocket. So if you're a young person and you don't have a debit card or a credit card to pay, that's what you need to have in your pocket to park for 2 hours if she's successful. Now that seems fair, doesn't it? We did this before. We were told that it was going to improve our businesses, that we were going to make more money because people would park in the other parking garages and they would come down and they would spend more time, and that's not what happened. A year later, Alderman Budge was honest about the situation. We asked him, so how was the revenue? You increased everything by 100%. How was the revenue for the parking down there? He said, we only saw a 70% increase. We said, well, that corresponds with what we know, because we lost business. We lost a lot of locals that would have come down there. In today's paper, Eric Evans, thank you, Eric, for getting in touch with us and letting us know about this, because we wouldn't have known it. He said that the new rate for parking would reduce the number of locals who visit downtown. And here is Ms. Tierney's reply, and I quote, to put it bluntly, these waterfront surface parking spots are not meant for locals. So now we can take it on ourselves to decide who could park where? Doesn't make sense. Today when I was coming here, I borrowed my daughter's car. She's in Guatemala interpreting for people, so I took her Honda and I noticed that it was dangerously low. And as I'm driving, we all probably do this, us middle class folks, we drive along and we see that gas station that says 263, and then there's the one that says 261, and for 2 cents I went to that one. I put 12 gallons in there. That's 24 cents. I saved 24 cents. How many of us do that when we go 24 cents? Wait a minute. There's 32 of those there. So if I do that 32 times, I have enough money to park downtown for 2 hours. Isn't that wonderful? Now let me ask you a question. In the wintertime, you put bags over the meters for us. You say, you don't have to pay because we want you to have business downtown. We want your businesses to do well. So we're going to waive the parking. Well, now wait a minute. I'm trying to figure this out. On one hand, if you don't have to pay, it brings people. But on the other hand, if you quadruple the amount that it costs, that brings people. You can't have it both ways. There's the statement that you can tell a lie often enough and it becomes truth. People believe it. So perhaps each time I come in here, I should tell you that I'm tall and thin and the spitting image of Denzel Washington. And so sooner or later, I'm going to come in here. You're not going to call me Mr. Storm. You're going to go, how's it going, Denzel? It's not going to change things. Take a look. Price matters. It does. Been down there for 43 years. In that period of time, we've had 34 or 35 different frozen food establishments, whether it was gelato or yogurt or ice cream, come and go. Now, if you go down to Storm Brothers, and let's face it, to run a successful business, you're going to need, 3 things. You need a good product, You need a good price and you need good service. So when I went to the gas station, I had good service. I was pumping it. And it was a good product, the same as the other gas station where it was 2 cents more. But the price was a little different. Oh, crap, 5 minutes goes fast. Anyway, I'll finish with this because one of the comments that Eric made was that whether you're wealthy, middle class, or mixed income, that's what belongs down there. That's who should be there. Perhaps Ms. Tierney wants the right people down there, the people that can afford to go whatever bed and breakfast, perhaps hers, that they want to. Maybe we don't want those people that would go to the Comfort Inn, and God forbid we would have anybody that would come down there that would go to a Motel 6. If you don't mind, I'll take my quarters.
They're forfeit. They're forfeit.
Do I? If you want to come down and fire, I'll leave it for you.
Thank you, Sven.
And thanks again for your office's response.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Julian Donnelly.
Julian Donnelly, 165 King George Street. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Supposed to be at dinner tonight with my son on his first night here, but instead I have to come talk about Ordinance 2619 and what is my livelihood, and also the recent parking changes in Annapolis. I realize they're two separate issues, but in regards to my property, they go hand in hand. My 3 units on King George Street were built in 1904. They've been 3 separate units for more than 50 years, and prior to that, it was a boarding home for female companions at the Naval Academy. In essence, we have been a short-term rental property since the 40s and 50s. We operated them briefly as long-term rental units from 2004 to 2016. During that time, our tenants had 2 cars apiece, making 6 cars 7 nights a week. Currently, we average 3 spots 3.5 nights a week in peak season. Long-term rentals are bringing the city $375 a year. Last year, I paid $1,913.50 to SP Parking. That's 547 daily spots versus 2,190 spots, less than 25% of what it is if I had long-term renters in there. If we're granted just 1 parking pass per unit, I'm still at only 50% as if we had long-term parkers in there. Right now, I have a couple in their early 70s named John and Doris staying in one of our units for a month. They have to walk to Knighton Garage, which is more than a mile away from our unit. Imagine walking a mile to your car in a heat index of over 100 degrees. Well, that's what our guest did last week. I am absolutely mortified that our city is asking our elderly guests to do this. This week, our city is asking a teenage child who's staying with me to walk home late at night after they park their car in a city garage to walk to the apartment. No, they cannot take the circulator because it doesn't come to our street and it stops at 8 p.m. Will you guys let your child or grandchild walk nearly a mile alone at night at 11 or 12 o'clock at night back from the city garage to your units? I understand contractors get separate parking with 72 hours notice. Which one of you is going to wait for a service call on Monday if your plumbing backs up, your AC goes out, or your heat goes out on a Wednesday? If we need 72 hours, if you ask for that spot on Wednesday, you can't get it till Saturday. Most contractors aren't going to come out on a weekend to downtown Annapolis. Those are some of the things I don't believe were taken into consideration when the parking ordinance was passed. We recently had our water main broken when a neighbor was doing sewer work. Am I supposed to wait 3 days to get running water so I can get contractor parking? I contacted more than 50 reservations I have through the end of the year to tell them they will no longer be given a single parking pass. I offered all of them free cancellations. So far, I've lost over $2,500 in bookings. This past weekend, one went out to a hotel in the Pearl Center. Guess where the money went? Not downtown. One term I heard during the Finance Committee meeting was residential. I am a residential unit zoned C1A. However, I'm paying commercial rates for water, sewer, and trash. So which am I, residential or commercial? Pick which one so I'm billed equally across the board. With a 120-day short-term rental limit, you're telling me you'd rather have rental units empty and subject to vandalism for 2/3 of the year. We're a city built on tourism, but yet we're not welcoming tourists to our great city. According to the Historic Annapolis Foundation, we welcome more than 5 million visitors from 23 countries every year. The people are spending their hard-earned money in our city. I was unable to locate Annapolis specific numbers, but for the state, We get $17 billion a year in tourism dollars in 2017 and 150,000 jobs. Aside from beach towns, I'm sure quite a bit of that money comes to Annapolis. For Anne Arundel County, in 2018, more than $14 million was collected in lodging tax and $70 million in tourism taxes. If we're limited to 120 days a year, the first group I'm going to turn away are John and Doris for a monthly rental because they get a discounted rate. Then it will be our state delegates, who we rent to in the off-season at a discounted rate. They'll be relegated to staying at hotels. Which one of you wants to stay in a hotel room for 3 months with no kitchen and no laundry? Short-term rentals are also my livelihood. My husband was laid off of work for 16 months. During that time, we even short-term rented our primary residence in addition to our investment properties. That allowed us to put food on the table, provide heat in our home. The money earned from the investment units allowed us to pay the mortgages so we did not lose any of our homes. It assisted us with our monthly COBRA health insurance payment of $2,400 a month, plus a $40,000 college tuition bill, which we were told in 2 years we'll get a break on. Once my husband did secure a position at a significantly reduced rate, we still found ourselves shelling out $16,500 for health insurance out of pocket. Again, the short-term rental platform covered that shortfall and allowed us to provide the basic necessities for our kids. If we were not allowed to have any of that income, and go back to long-term rentals, we can only cover the mortgage. We can't do anything else. We can't improve the property. We can't help maintain it. I do not mind paying a lodging tax. I think many of us are all licensed, and we don't mind that, but we can't have the 120-day thing on there. Also, Mr. Mayor, this evening you said ride share and bike share. Why not home share?
Thank you, Julian. Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Kostas Alexakis, and I'm here to speak on behalf of O'Brien's Oyster Bar around the corner. I'm here of course, I cannot match what Sven does, but I would like to give you a primer on how restaurants operate. And they're different than bed and breakfasts. Bed and breakfasts rely on tourists. Restaurants rely on locals and serve tourists. I'm sure, Mayor, you know the restaurant business. Unless you're able to work on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you're not going to be around Friday and Saturday. So this suggestion of increasing parking at a certain area creates a negative impact that adds to the other negative impacts that people have developed in their minds about Annapolis. The catchment area for the business community, the serious business community downtown. I'm not talking about the t-shirt shops or the two beers for $3 restaurants. I'm talking about those who are trying to develop a serious business in Annapolis, in downtown Annapolis, is affected by the perception that we all leave in the minds of the customers. This whole idea of parking, it's a huge issue. 12 years ago, O'Brien's was doing $5 million a year. Today, it's doing $2 million a year. What's the difference? We still have huge crowds here on the weekends. The locals are not coming by. The locals are those within the 10-mile catchment area, Anne Arundel County, and within, it's not Baltimore, it's not Washington. Locals are within this area. Where are they going? To the malls. What do the malls offer? They offer free parking and valet. Here in Annapolis, we're not able to offer valet because the parking garage refuses to allot enough parking spaces next to each other for a valet operator to operate. This would be an interesting solution for you to solve. There should be a valet area in the parking garage because but you say you can park the car, valet can park the car, but he has to park it in a place where he can find it. Otherwise, he can't find it, he can't offer the service. So, I remember maybe it was 6 years ago. Parking was what, 25 cents on the meters? Town was busy. I remember Storm Brothers ice cream store. There used to be a line around it. Not anymore. I'm told that at O'Brien's there used to be a line at O'Brien's on Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays. Not anymore. What we have now is fights almost every Saturday night on the middle of the street because most of the restaurants have turned into bars that are selling 2 beers for $3 at midnight, and it's going the wrong way. If you want a nice dinner, you don't think about Annapolis. I can tell you from personal experience, you have friends in the area. You should ask them, why don't you go to Annapolis for dinner? They don't want to risk not finding a place to park. They have this idea in their mind that the city is going to be flooded every time it rains. By the way, congratulations on solving this small problem by putting some pumps. And it proves one thing, it's not a $7.5 million problem. It might be a $300,000-400,000 problem to solve this flooding so we can get control of the flooding, so the impression that we can win against something that's been bothering the city and the capital of Maryland, used to be the capital of the U.S., floods continuously year after year. So I speak against this idea of raising parking in a certain area, and I had a back and forth with Alderwoman Tierney, and her thoughts are that it affects only the tourists. Well, it doesn't. It affects all of us. It's a message that goes out that parking is horrible in Annapolis. Sven is right. I didn't realize that you need a pound of quarters to park for 2 hours if that's the case. That can't be the case. We cannot have that happen. So I urge you to reconsider. Let's think about asking the Main Street merchants who are suffering. There are enough T-shirt shops. You don't want any more T-shirt shops, I don't think. Ask us what we need. Work with us, and maybe we can make this place a better place and make it the magnet that it was for serious diners and serious retail. It's not anymore. Thank you.
Alderman Tierney, Costas.
I just want to clarify a couple things, probably that need clarification. You brought my owning a bed and breakfast, and I'll mention that because I'd like to tell a story that was sort of the impetus in relooking at high demand parking that is located near the water. I have guests that park at Hillman Garage, but recently I've had many guests show up and they've already prepaid. And I said to them, wow, where did you prepay? Well, we went on the Annapolis Parking website and we told that we prepaid for space at Hillman for $25 or $30 or whatever. But the point is that they were willing to pay more so that they knew that when they got here, they would have a designated space at Hillman. And that's the definition of demand. And we looked at these spaces carefully. As chair of the Transportation Committee, I meet with SP Plus with city leaders every other week. And during the capital budget review, we didn't have any money to implement any of the options that we need to have residents from all wards, locals from all wards, come to City Dock. Not everyone has a car, and there is no available transit for residents in Ward 6, 7, 8, West Annapolis to get on an e-cruiser and come downtown. You have to realize that these 3 waterfront parks surface lots can't accommodate locals. And what the behavior is that when you have out-of-town people, they go to the belly of the beast. I've watched them for 7 years line up on Compromise Street, make illegal left turns into those 3 lots and circulate until they have a space. So that's demand pricing. And so we're asking to price those lots based on their current demand, and we've implemented smart meters so that it is more convenient. And yes, waterfront parking is for transient parkers, whether local or out of town.
They want to get close to the water for many reasons. It's not designated parking for businesses. It is city public parking, and it has the highest demand in the entire city. Hence the increased price request to achieve a goal of a constant 85% occupancy. We have a parking management company that are experts. They manage BWI Airport. We want to implement an airport model where the closest to the water, the more expensive the parking, the further away, the less expensive parking. And we also want to be able to afford garage upgrades and transportation, and we can't do that, and we won't be able to do that with the status quo. So this is a very specific list of where we can increase parking revenue so it goes to transportation options and garage automation, so it helps all of us in the city. We have to just step out and look at how can we all enjoy City Dock. So please just be open-minded about this, and we can look at it in 6 months and see if it has in fact been detrimental. It was very interesting July 4th, and I'll close with this. Very interesting. There was not a car parked in sight to see the fireworks because the fireworks drew people there. It wasn't parking that drew people there. It was the fireworks. It was an event. It was a restaurant. It was this. It was that. And I looked, and I saw a line from Storm's Ice Cream all the way to across to making a U-turn to get in and have ice cream. They didn't have convenient parking. They were all shuttled from the stadium. So you just got to have an open mind about this, and we. And myself, as a steward of this city, we have to start looking at this as a business. Just like you look at yourself, you probably had to price your restaurant, happy hour versus your demand. This is what we're doing. So I feel offended by you accusing me personally of anything, and this is what we're trying to do. So thank you.
Well, first of all, if I could say something, there should be no misunderstanding that. I hope you know that I think all of you are well-meaning. There's no question about that. We're all trying to solve a problem. It's just a matter of perspective. It's one thing to be fighting the battle on the street, on Main Street, and talking to people and trying to figure out what's changed in Annapolis. Why is Annapolis, a beautiful little city, not getting the traffic that it used to get? This is the question I'm trying to solve. And through my own anecdotal inquiries, I have determined that the people in Severna Park and in Arnold choose to go to the mall rather than come down because they fear that they're going to have to circle around a couple times before they find parking. It's a reality. Now, Main Street might be a little better because there's a huge parking lot up there. So, there's availability of parking, but downtown Main Street is suffering, and I want to be clear about that. And I'm not accusing you of anything other than maybe your experiences are as we all are tilted a certain way from, a bed and breakfast. Somebody comes from Washington, they're paying $200 a night. Yeah, they want to reserve a parking spot for $25. It's normal. But somebody comes from Arnold, they're saying, wait a minute now. I'm going to park for 2 hours because the meter might run out in 2 hours. And then I'm going to have a $40 ticket if I miss the deadline. So the guy from Arnold is making a choice, and he's going to the mall. That's all I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Costas.
A guy from Arnold should be able to be on Rao Boulevard, and there should be a sign directing him to surface parking. We can't afford to do that right now, and that's what this resolution is trying to do.
Thank you, Costas. Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward and speak, please? Hey, Chris. How you doing?
How are you, Mr. Mayor? Chris Ledoux, 215 Severn Avenue, Eastport. I'd like to talk about, follow up with you, Ms. Turney, about the ordinance on the parking. If you have a policy where you say we want to implement demand pricing, let's implement it. You don't pick certain micro spots. Do the demand pricing up Main Street. do the demand pricing at Hillman Garage. Don't pick winners and losers. I mean, how far is it from these lots to Main Street? And yet, Mr. Storm's competitors will have parking spots outside their stores at less price than near his store. It makes no sense. And in fact, it will affect residents. What will happen is, because demand exceeds supply, the spaces will fill up at $4 an hour. More thrifty people will drive to Hillman. Hillman will fill quicker. Then residents won't be able to get into Hillman with their 2-hour free parking pass. In addition, other people will be driven into the neighborhoods to find spaces. So there's other consequences. So I'm willing to keep an open mind if, as we go forward, you're willing to keep an open mind and look for comprehensive solutions to these very difficult problems. I think we all realize there's a problem, but there's many ways to solve this. I greatly appreciate your drive to increase revenue for the Transportation Fund. That's why earlier this year, I came to the council and said, why is a 24-hour guest pass $3.50? I said, why is the cost for a parking pass for your 4th car in your household the same price as your 2nd car? There's comprehensive ways to increase revenue to the Transportation Fund, to make it equitable for all residents, and then not to pick winners and losers and cause unintended consequences. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you. How you doing? Please come and state your name and address. Thank you.
My name is Susan Jorgensen, and I live at 39 Murray Avenue. And I have lived in my house for 27 years, and I am a retired teacher. In fact, I taught Dewan Gay, which is always fun to see him up here.
You did a good job.
He did a good job. I did a good job. I hope I taught him whatever he needs to know at this point. Anyway, I have set my house up as an Airbnb. I have 3 daughters who've all moved out, and it helps to supplement everything that I've done. Because I live on Murray Avenue, and it's a one-way street with very little parking, I ask the people who come to stay in my house to park at the Knighton Garage, which has been very convenient. It's a half a block up from my house. And I understand that there's a parking issue here in Annapolis, and I would never have tried to issue any like temporary parking passes to anybody to park on my street because of the limited parking for the residents. So I just want to appeal that I still think that all of these temporary stays in Annapolis are very, very valuable for all the different people who come here for all the different reasons they come here, and would prefer to stay in a place like an Airbnb instead of a hotel or instead of someplace further away that they can't afford. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope this whole thing will be resolved, and all the people who have these little temporary short-term rentals and can figure out how we can work together to accommodate all the needs we have in Annapolis. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward and speak? How you doing? Please state your name and address for the record.
Honorable Mayor, Council, my name is Mary Purdy, 724 Mills Way. I've heard a lot tonight about times are a-changing. So right now we're in a change to the sharing economy. And the sharing economy, we're allowing Uber, Lyft, and Airbnbs are a sharing economy just like VBRO at home. And if we want to be a progressive city, we have to be doing what the rest of the United States as well as the rest of the world is doing. Airbnb is not being a success for no reason. So I just want that to be taken into account. Everybody here that is part of the sharing economy understands you have to get taxed, understands that there has to be inspections, and that we all have to follow the rules and regulation, but we don't need to be penalized for making money through the sharing economy. And another thing I wanted to mention was the stadium parking lot. I'm affiliated with that, and you're not running buses every weekend. And I know for the parade, the gay parade that was here, many people were walking all the way from the stadium down here in almost 100-degree weather. And they were pretty upset. First, they were upset because they couldn't find accommodations in Annapolis. So they drove and they parked at the stadium parking lot like they had many other times they'd come to Annapolis, and there were no buses running. So I would think that on big events like that, the city really needs to be mindful that people need to get downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no motion in the chamber, I declare the comments by the general public closed. The City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar include approval of Journal of Proceedings, starting with CCM 052819 special meeting minutes, CCM 060319 special meeting minutes, CCM 061019 regular meeting minutes, CCM 061719 special meeting minutes. Next are the appointments, beginning with AP 6918, the reappointment of Samuel Callahan Jr. to the Civil Service Board, AP 7419, the reappointment of Richard O. Frank to the Maritime Advisory Board, AP 7519, the reappointment of Terrence H. Lomax to the Maritime Advisory Board, AP 7619, the reappointment of Scott Allen to the Maritime Advisory Board, AP 7719, the reappointment of Debbie Goslin to the Maritime Advisory Board, and AP 7819, the reappointment of William H. Woodward Jr. to the Maritime Advisory Board. And next are the supplemental appropriations, starting with SA 120. Those are supplemental appropriations related to the Office of Environmental Policy. And then SA 220 are supplemental appropriations related to the Office of Emergency Management Department. Next are the business and miscellaneous. ID 49519 JP Towing Renewal for fiscal year 2020, and ID 49619 Top Notch Towing Renewal for fiscal year 2020. Next on the consent calendar are the first readers, beginning with O2719 Critical Area Overlay, R3219 Maryland Public Information Act fees, R3319 Parking Meters fees, R3419 Major City Dock Event and Itinerant Merchant Sales in the Historic District, and finally, R3719, Public Works Maintenance Facility Task Force. That's the end of the consent calendar.
Any objections to items on the consent calendar? Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove R3719 from the consent calendar.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call. Mayor Buckner.
Call the roll. Yes.
Okay. Alderman Pendle Charles. Alderman Finlayson.
Aye.
Alderman Gay. Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
Alderman Tierney.
Aye.
Alderman Payon.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is public hearings, beginning with ordinance 02519, the Watershed Restoration Fund.
No one signed up to speak. Would you like to speak, Mr. Barker? Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is David Barker. I reside at 154 Quiet Waters Place, Annapolis 21403. I'm very sorry that I didn't sign up. I didn't arrive in time to sign up because I was looking for parking. I'm speaking to you tonight in my capacity as president of the Severn River Association. and I offer testimony in support of the ordinance 2519, the Watershed Restoration Fund. I would like to support the revision that is contained in this ordinance. The present version is overly restrictive with relation to the expanding demands that are being placed on the fund, and the ordinance as it's presently drafted expands the purposes for which it can be used that are entirely congruent with its present and foreseeable needs. So the Severn River Association asks the council to pass this resolution. Thank you very much.
Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Barker, for coming out to testify. And I do want to invite you, this is probably going to come up at the next Environmental Matters Committee next week, I think it is, on Wednesday, on the 17th. So you're welcome to attend because we will be talking about this. If you have any suggestions about further language changes or additions, that'd be a good time. So you can either email them to me or you're welcome to come to the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Would anyone else present like to speak on O-25-19? Nope. I declare the public hearing on O-25-19 closed. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yeah, if I can find it. Oh. Next item on the agenda is legislative actions on first reader, beginning with Resolution R3519, grading permit fees.
Is there a motion to adopt R-35-19 on first reader?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Alderman Savage.
Just to let everybody know, in case you didn't read it or yet, but so this is just a correction to what was passed. There was a drafting error. This just corrects one of the amounts so that I am going to make a motion to suspend the rules so we can adopt it tonight so that we can collect fees for the grading permits.
Okay. So there's a motion. Is there a second? Was it the motion?
Second.
Okay.
I can move in second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Is there a motion to adopt R-35-19 on second reader?
I'll move to suspend the rules.
I thought you did that already. Oh, sorry. Wasn't that?
Oh, no, sorry. This is my motion to suspend the rules.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I guess I didn't vote one way or the other. Why are we suspending the rules?
Because if this isn't adopted, they won't be able to collect fees on grading permits that are submitted between $0 and $50,000. So if there's a permit that comes in, because of the drafting error, we're not going to be able to collect any fees.
Okay, I vote aye.
I figured you would. Okay.
DeJuan, you're getting a lesson on Robert's rules.
See the level of professionalism here?
It's mostly how not to do things.
Is there a motion to adopt R-35-19 on second reader?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll. Yes.
Alderman Kendall Charles? Yes. Alderman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payne?
Aye.
Okay. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is legislative action on second reader, beginning with R2719, Eastport and Forest Drive Communities and Governmental Agencies Task Force.
Is there a motion to adopt R-27-19 on second reader?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got some proposed amendments. So R-27-19,
That's your legislation.
Alderman Pindell Charles, there's an amendment.
Resolution 37-19. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's yours.
27.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, amendment number 1. Let me get myself straight here.
I move all 4 amendments.
Yes.
Second.
And all the 7
Okay.
amendments. Let's do all that at one time, can we?
Any questions?
No?
The only
I've got 4.
Okay, sure.
And I would move all through amendment number 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So you, wait.
So just the Savage amendments? Or
No,
just
no,
the
no.
Pindell-Charles?
You only have 1 through 4.
1 through 4. The motion
Okay, I
was
didn't
for
get a copy.
Alderwoman
Yeah,
Pindell
it's on your
Charles's
desk.
amendments.
Yeah, Ross made it, I seconded, because I took him seriously.
Okay, all those in favour of the Pindell-Charles amendment say aye.
Well, is there-
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you. No, that's
I
not
haven't had a chance to read through these.
Well, we're going to get to the Savage ones. Yours next.
I know, but these are Alderwomen that I haven't.
You were supposed to do that before you got here.
I didn't get it until. No. You already voted anyway, so.
We'll give you time. But, I mean, we support.
I move the Savage amendments 5 through 9.
We get a second on that? 5, 6,
5
7, 8,
through
9, 10,
9.
Oh, I
11,
have-
12.
Alderman Savage, I have not had an opportunity to read over your
Well,
amendments.
it's too bad he didn't read yours either.
You changed it from October 31st, 2020 to January.
There are some that we may want to discuss.
Yes, I think
That was
so.
I have a question.
Just a 2-month period.
I didn't get a second, yeah. So we can't
Second,
discuss
please.
anything. I move we adjourn.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I'll
It's a-
second so we can discuss,
It's
maybe?
a 10-month period.
Yep.
Okay, it is a 10-month period.
We are
We're
on
on
the
am-
Savage amendments 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We need a second.
I seconded.
Okay, Rob, can we discuss them now, please?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was moved?
Ross moved your amendments 5 through 12.
5 through 9.
My mother was the math teacher.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Really?
Really?
Well, I'd rather take them separate because I know
Yes.
the sponsor may not agree with number 5.
True.
And so, but it's already moved. All right. All right. Well, so I guess so. Amendment number 5. I was just changing the date that is in legislation for them to put together their report. So changing it from October 31st to January 31st, just to move up the schedule a bit because because when we heard from Plan and Zoning in our last work session, they're moving right along with their comp plan, and I'm worried if we wait till January, it's going to be. If we wait till October, it's going to be way too late to get any kind of recommendations from this task force into the comp plan, and that's why I'm thinking October 31st would be a bit more.
It's a year and a half anyway. It's a long time.
What is?
So it's a year and a half as it is. That's a long time. I got no problem with your amendment.
It's a half.
Oh, no, you're right. No, actually that amendment, I put the wrong date.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be, I was going to propose.
Half a year.
No, I put,
It's
it's
10
2020,
months.
it should be 19.
January 19 is already gone.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at October.
The reason,
You're right.
the reason
You're right.
that I selected that date, number one, is because I go by a lot of things that my mother
Yeah.
used to say, better to have and not need than to need and not have. And so my thing is, we don't have to go out that far, but I just want to make sure we have a comfort zone. I've been on and working with enough task forces, and sometimes, like this one we had this year, I had to ask for another year. Now, granted, I understand what you're saying about the comp plan, but my thing is, even if we have the time, if we wanted to even offer some amendment even to our own report, at some addendum to our report, if we get into the comp plan time frame. So I'd rather have a longer period of time and make sure we can shorten it. We can finish, if we can finish in December, fine. But I don't want to have to come back to the council and say, we need some extra time if we need some extra time. I just like a comfort level myself with that. Like I said, my mother always said, better to have and not need than to need and not have. So I'd rather have it and not need it than we have to need it, come back and have a whole nother discussion about why it needs to be extended. So that was my purpose in making it fairly lengthy, but we don't have to extend it that far.
Okay, Alderman Tierney next, and then Alderman Finlayson.
Somehow I'm reminded of my mom saying, Ellie, don't let your brothers beat you up tonight. But anyways, I digress. Rob's amendment actually made me think of, have we really clarified the objective of this? And I see the objective of it really being linked to the comp plan. It serves as a, it feeds into the comp plan, and I commend you for addressing that with the date change. Am I correct in that is why?
Yes, and the other amendments try to bring some more detail.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's.
Alderman Finlayson?
Yes, thank you. And my question was very similar, if not exactly the same. What is the desired outcome of the task force? And is the result of whatever this outcome is to be, is the intent to have it impact the comp plan?
Good question, and Alderman Arnett and I talked about it, and you go right ahead and respond,
Sure.
Alderman Arnett.
So there's really two intents. It's to create a body of citizens that are paralleling the activities of the council, the activities of the planning commission, and give them an entree into being able to speak while the process goes on.
The process being the comp plan process?
The comp plan process,
Okay.
but also we have an ongoing process where we're still evaluating the Forest Drive Eastport sector study. And I think we need to move along with that. It's kind of gotten put to the side because of the budget, but as you know from my last email, I think it's time to return to all these land use issues, and Forest Drive and the comprehensive plan are certainly those issues. The other objective, though, of this legislation, and one that I strongly support, is we have 3 different jurisdictions in the city that have control over our various streets. We have city streets, we have county streets, we have state roads. And so the other objective here is to solicit input from the staff of each of those jurisdictions as we go along. It doesn't do us any good to plan some magnificent change to Aristide Allen and the state says, nobody talked to me about it. Mm-hmm. So it's twofold. It's one, to get a formal way to get some more citizens directly involved, and the other is to get input across jurisdictions in a timely fashion, a concurrent fashion, so that we're hearing from them as we're going through all of our deliberations.
So
the timing change to me is relevant. As my mother used to say, if I give you a day, you'll take a day. If I give you a month, you'll take a month. If I give you a year, you'll take a year. And so she said, I'm going to give you a day. And if you need more time, come back and ask for it. But otherwise, get it done.
We had 2 different mothers, obviously.
Yes, I know.
Get it done.
My mother,
my
mother carried a switch.
So is the timing significant enough to impact the comp study?
Not if we wait until October of next year. Sally, who was here, told us this time next year they're coming in with draft 1, and she is moving. I mean, I'm actually admiring her zeal on this. I mean, they're moving right along, and they do have a process that is going to be expedited because they're working with the outside experts, and they're doing an iterative process with the Planning Commission, a process that I would like the City Council to also join in on. Mm-hmm. And I think there's every expectation that they will be coming to us with a draft. Then we go out to the community, the citizens writ large, and show them what we've done and hear from them. I'm sure we'll hear from them a lot.
So the earlier date would carry the greater significance?
To me, it does. That will be my vote.
I have something I want to say, and no disrespect to you, Alderman Savage, but I'm quite perturbed that you brought these amendments here tonight. I've not had an opportunity to look at them. We've not had an opportunity to discuss them. I've been working on this legislation for about 2 months, doing my sick time, and you dropped these on us tonight, and I'm really not very happy about that. Nothing personal to you, but there are quite a few amendments you have here, and we've been going to the meetings, Alderman Arnett and I. We've kept you in the loop, and now tonight you drop these on us, and I'm not really very happy about that. But I wanted to just let you know, these are things we could have discussed either via email or whatever. And these are pretty significant in my mind, because I took a lot of time, like you do with your work. I took a lot of time going through this, and really I'm not very happy about these amendments. And I just want to be honest about it. Not very respectful.
Alderman Arnett.
I understand your point. We all had a lot of amendments dropped on us at the last minute. I choose to look at the friendly intent of trying to improve the ordinance and get results. And so it's not, by and large, not changing things that you and I worked on. It's adding supplemental things. So amendments 6, 7, 8, and 9 are inserting more embellishment, which I believe speak to the question that Alderwoman Finlayson asked, which is we need more definition for the point of this. You and I both received email from ECA people also suggesting that there was a need for more definition. So, I think it's the ultimate goal is what we ought to worry about. We have rocky roads to get to every piece of legislation. I choose to look at the positive suggestions for these amendments, which I agree with you. I also just got so.
And we have not filtered these through
this whole agenda.
Either, so
we did not get the agenda, period, until late Friday. They're supposed to be prepared and ready for us by Wednesday, the latest. Any changes we want to get are supposed to be in by Tuesday. Those of us who do blast emails to our constituents need that time to prepare our missives that are going out. So I don't know why, and I'm sure there's valid reasons this whole agenda was so late, but I think we all need to work harder to get things to each other in a more timely fashion. I will promise that I will endeavor to do that.
I'm just going to get some clarification from Regina on that.
He just answered the question. Once our agenda is set, we had a whole bunch of additions to our agenda that we were told to put on after the fact.
By who?
I'd rather not speak to that, but
well,
we can't. I mean,
it's our agenda.
Yeah, I know. And you guys were the people that requested.
We need to be respectful of each
information.
other, and if you have something last minute, wait till the next council meeting. There's nothing that's a rush.
Alderman Savage.
Yeah, thank you. And Alderwoman Pindell Charles. Alderwoman Pindell Charles.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
I just wanted to. I'm sorry.
I just want to lay. There was no disrespect intended. I'm in support of this. I want to make it a success. That's why I want whatever comes out of this to have a chance of being incorporated into the comp plan, if that's the direction task force goes. So I'm certainly not trying to sabotage. I'm not trying to harm it. I'm trying to bring my 2 cents into it. I think this, originally I only had one amendment, but then I sent it out to some of the community members, not just in my ward, but elsewhere, this weekend when I was looking over the agenda, and I did get back comments, and that's where the rest of my amendments came in. They came from community groups, my constituents, and others who've been contacting me about concerns about the comp plan or the sector study. And with specific feedback, I asked them for feedback about what can we do to improve this, or if there are ways to improve this task force and legislation. The only thing, and I don't think anything's much of substantive change except for the date change.
It is for me, Ms. Savage, it is for me.
Okay.
And I didn't receive any of these comments. I know you sent me one, and then one later one I said, I was going to leave it up to you to make the decision, but none of these have I ever seen from any constituents or any loops we were in the email on. None of this, especially number 10, when we're changing it from 21 to 14. But I'm really, really disturbed by this whole thing. We've had an opportunity to circulate a lot of things. I've kept you in the loop on everything, but I just don't feel respected when I did not see any of this until tonight. I'm very disappointed, really am.
Okay, so we have a first and a second for Savage amendments to R27-19, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. All those in favour say aye.
Mr. Mayor, before we vote, in light of the comments I've heard, I'd move that we postpone these until the next meeting. It's 2 weeks away, and I think 2 weeks allows plenty of time to review these. I don't think anybody has intentionally been disrespectful to anyone, but we all know the inconvenience that we go through when we get things at the last minute. Sometimes it's necessary to get them at the last minute. I don't know if this fits that or not, but you know, hey, if there's some question or doubt, let's do it next time. We have time to look at these things and give a more intelligent vote, on them.
Okay, so to do that, we'd have to vote these down first, right? Does it? Okay. So we've got a second for Fred's motion to postpone?
Second.
Okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it postponed as amended?
No.
So all the amendments go back?
It has to be postponed to a date certain. Is the date certain the next council meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is the Alderwoman had her 4 amendments as well.
Everything goes back.
So you'll have to move those again on that date. Thank you.
Okay. That's fine.
That's it. We're going to move it to the next one. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is legislative action on first reader that was removed from the consent calendar. That's Resolution R3719, Public Works Maintenance Facility Task Force.
So move.
Second.
That's to remove it, right?
That's to, I'm making a motion to take it up.
Okay. Is there a second for that? Sorry, did I get that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution comes before you. If you recall, during the budget process, we amended the CIP to ask for a task force that would determine the location for the Public Works facility. And after our meeting, Regina reminded me that that action was incomplete in that we needed a who, what, when, where, why in the form of a resolution. So here is the resolution that speaks to the formation of the task force. The task force is designed to pull together professionals in the 10 or 12 areas that I've outlined that will bring back to us their best recommendation. So we are talking about things like the environmental impact, land use, housing, traffic, connectivity and recreational amenities, impact on the communities, impact on businesses, and impact on our employees. So this resolution puts into place that task force. I shared with you, well, first of all, the mayor and I met last week and agreed on the purpose of the task force and on many, if not, well, most of the appointees, except they're not going to be appointed through the normal confirmation process because we set a 6-month task force and they're ready and we want them to get to work immediately. So I will, after, I guess, the first vote, I will ask that we suspend the rules and take this to third reader tonight, because the task force is ready to get started. Their first meeting is on the 23rd. I shared with all of you the list of participants. They are people from the state, the county, and local folks, with our staff, the various departments, serving as resources to this committee. We don't serve on the task force, and our staff will not be serving on the task force. So the folks that are serving have no vested interests. I know there was a question about whether I had stacked the deck or the mayor had stacked the deck. We haven't stacked the deck. We met and talked through who was going to serve so that we could get a fair and objective recommendation from the group. Task force will have probably 22 people. Jared Littman has agreed.
Amend it to 21.
Well, no. I don't make a.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You
I
can't. This is
apologize.
not apples and oranges here. Jared Littman has agreed to chair the task force, and well, we all know Jared. We served with him as one of our colleagues here. So he's going to get this job done for us, and he is ready and eager also. So that's a little bit of background. I have sent you the resolution as it's gone through several reiterations. The final, I think, Ms. Berger, when did we send out? Last Wednesday or something?
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday.
And then just over the weekend, I sent the list of the membership, because folks are still calling saying that they will have agreed to do it. No one has turned us down, because everyone sees the value of what we're trying to do and are willing to help. So I'll entertain any questions or...
Any questions? Alderman Arnett.
I think it was important, remembering the dialogue that went on during the budget, that you, Mr. Mayor, and you, Alderwoman Finlayson, came to a meeting of minds, because this was really a compromise between the two of you, and I appreciate compromise, and I support this. I support the people that you've jointly come up with to serve on this, and I do think we need to be moving along. We have, poor Public Works has been languishing for years, and I think that it's time to get some information, make a decision, and get on with it, whatever that information is. So I support this legislation. I'll support, and this is hard for me to do, suspending the rules. And I'll also support the amendment that you might want to introduce.
Alderman Savage? No.
I just wanted to be added as a co-sponsor.
Okay.
And may I add, I got an email from Alderman Rodriguez, who also wants to be a co-sponsor.
I can't hear him.
Okay.
There is an
All
amendment.
those in favour say aye.
There is an amendment.
No, not yet. Not on second reader.
I'll accept this as a friendly amendment.
Yeah. Right. Aye.
We're still
You
on
don't.
first reader.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Who's on
We're
first?
just moving along. Okay,
So
sorry.
this is just on first
Aye.
reader. All those in favour say aye.
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 Opposed? Is there a motion to suspend the rules to allow passage of the resolution?
Nope, amendment.
Madam Chair, or Mr. Mayor, I'll move to suspend the rules.
Okay. Is there a second. Okay. Any discussion? This is to suspend the rules. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Has to be 100%, so that's good, right? All right. Is there a motion to adopt R-37-19 on second reader?
So moved.
Okay. Discussion of the Pindell-Charles Amendment, number 1.
Mr. Mayor, I'll accept it as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
I added the Bywater corridor, and I have a rationale on here regarding many people using that corridor for ingress and egress. But I didn't see enclave on the.
So she
Was that added?
I need
Okay.
I need a second on that.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have
Alderman Gay.
Our question isn't like in regards to the switching or anything. So at the completion of this in January 2020, will they begin construction immediately once they decide which location is?
Thank you.
What would the process be on that? I mean, because this is dragging it out to 2020. So they would be in a temporary facility, I'm assuming, or wherever they are now until, like, when would that start?
Well, it depends on what the recommendation is from the task force. If the recommendation is that we replace the Public Works facility on Spa Road where it originally sat, then I believe we can have shovel in the ground in the spring. Mr. Fitzgerald, shaking. If the mayor's proposal prevails, then we are talking, I think we were told, 4 years?
I don't think so. Come on.
Well, I'm just repeating what we were told.
Your second term.
But there's a difference in, because it's a planned development that will have to go through the process. And so we don't know which, but I'm sure as you're getting acquainted with the departments, you'll be able to tour the locations of Public Works.
And we'll be preparing both sites so that it's not a 4-year process. Alderman Pound.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Gay, it's my understanding that this is a recommendation. We ultimately vote on the location regardless of what they say. Now, if they tell us it ought to go in one place, whether you have a good reason not to go along with that is up to you. But I think that we still will be voting, on that. We control the money to a large extent, and we will be voting on it one way or the other after they come back with a recommendation. I don't think it's automatic. That it's not my understanding that it is. And you're absolutely right if you got from this that the Spa Road location is much more ready. If that's the only thing you're looking for, that's much more, shovel ready than the other one would be. But that, doesn't. There are many other things you go into.
Again, this is in the future. We'll obviously have this discussion. But if it takes 4 years, it's a long time.
We're not going to let that happen.
Excuse me?
Okay, it might only be 3.5.
Ms. Dickerson?
Jody, can we get some clarification? Thank you.
Since there is a capital project that's already funded as written, I don't think it would come back to council for approval since the funding is already there. Right now it talks about the Spa Road location, unless did we put qualifying language in on the description to say it would come back?
Yeah,
I don't have it in front of me, but I'm not sure what you...
But to change that, we'd have to vote all over again because it's a different...
I'd have to look at the description as it's written in the capital budget to see what it says, to see if there's anything that would make it come back to you until the next budget process. As we go through capital next year would be your next opportunity.
Spa Road was the only thing that we had in the works when we voted, so...
Yeah. So this is David Gerald, Director of Public Works. So the CIP that was approved is for Forest Drive. So if that changes, that has to be addressed as a CIP change. If in fact Forest Drive still goes through, it has to come back to you for the disposition of the Spa Road site. So for that sale or that trade or whatever it would be, that has to come back to council for approval. So either way, it has to come back. So if it's Spa Road, then it has to come back for a CIP change. If it's Forest, then it has to come back for disposition of the Spa Road site.
Next up, Alderman Arnett was next, or?
Well, I was going to say what Director Gerald said much more succinctly.
Okay. Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, to your point, I think we really don't know how long the mayor's proposal would take. And I think that's one thing that hopefully the task force will help clarify. It could be 2 years or less, who knows, it could be more, but I think until we get an idea of what some of the underlying requirements are, especially for the environment, if we need to do any kind of environmental assessment or remediation, not to mention some of the approvals with the state, I think this will help everybody kind of get a better understanding of what to look at and what to compare in terms of timeline.
Thank you. Alderman Tierney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not quite sure what's on the floor right now, but please don't take this the wrong way. I just think for the public that's watching, tonight we talked about 2 task forces that were formed after we had something on the dais, whether it was the sector study or whether it was this decision to be made on the Spa Road. And the effort, the post effort in these task forces is super commendable, but I think we have to examine why we couldn't have done all of that in the window of time that we had so that we wouldn't be subject to these delays. I am certainly not pointing fingers. I'm just saying that it's worth examining so that we do things better. That's it.
Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, and thank you, Alderwoman Tierney. My vision for this whole process is to bring in experts who can share with us information that we don't know, to bring all the information together. At the first meeting on the 23rd, and I hope all of you will plan to join the task force, well, then we'll have a cake for you there. Mr. Baum is going to be there to share his proposal, and so the committee members will be able to then divide into subcommittees. And then I trust that the Honorable Alderman Littman will give them their charge and send them off to do their work. Okay? This is outside of our normal process. But I think it's a very expeditious way of getting to yes. And we don't know what yes is going to be, but getting to a yes. And I commit, and I hope you all do, to commit to following whatever recommendation comes to us. Okay? Because we will have done our homework. We will have gotten all of the information that we need to make good, wise, intelligent decisions.
Okay, so there is a motion to amend R-37-19 on the floor with a second. Alderwoman Pendell Charles.
The purpose, as I recall, and Alderman Arnett can correct me, of the task force that was formed was as a result, for 2 reasons, I guess. The Eastport Civic Association came with a letter, a 6-page letter, indicating some issues that they had regarding traffic and safety. The 6-page letter from February. Also, in Ward 3, we have the dilemma of Forest Drive, Aris T. Allen Boulevard, and Chicopee Round Road, which is 3 different governmental agencies. So, based on the letter and based on the problems that I know at that intersection, it was determined that we should have a task force to work it out, and that we needed at the table the county as well as the state. So I heard from my residents, especially the ones in Ward 3, including Heritage, Fairfax, Ross heard, Alderman Arnett heard from his folks from the Eastport Civic Association, and even from my standpoint, I originally asked Planning and Zoning if they were going to look at Forest Drive from the county end going eastward. They needed to look at Forest Drive going westward and take it out to River Road, and they did not do that. So I was not happy about that either, because the buck stops in Ward 3, and then we have the bleed over into Upper West Street. So there were a lot of issues and problems, and we needed more than just the city to try to fix it. We needed the county and the state. And I'm not minimizing Eastport or Hillsmere, but really, a lot of this mess is out in Ward 3. Thank you.
Alderman Gay?
I'm not sure if this is just, so within the existing draft that they have, it doesn't clarify what staff they have access to and what information that they are able to take away from the staff. Should that be added, or is that?
The staff will be invited to and introduced at the meeting on the 23rd. All of the members of the task force are aware that staff will be resources to them, and I've spoken to all the directors who will be in those capacities.
What, the meeting is July the 23rd?
July 23rd, 2 o'clock. We're still, it's either here or in Gorman Street. We're not sure which yet.
You'll send something?
Yeah, I'll send something out once it's confirmed. So what we're talking about is the task force for the Public Works facility. Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Pindell Charles?
Alderwoman Finlayson's task force is 6 months. Ours is a little more, maybe a year, depending on how we vote the next time. But we too will be looking at staff, whether it's staff from the city, but also from the county, whether it's inspection and permits, whether it's planning and zoning, whether it's public works. We're going to, and transportation, because somebody sent an email today about involving transportation as well on the mix. And that's another reason why I made it 21 members, because I said if we wanted to get up to three from each governmental agency, state, county, and city, and we wanted a couple of extras because we have so many communities in Ward 3, I would want someone from Fairfax. I would want someone from Heritage. I would want someone from the Annapolis Design District, because those three entities especially, and especially even on the Bywater corridor, those people are directly affected by that intersection. And I would not feel like I would do my due diligence if I didn't invite them on there. Then maybe wards 1 and 2 may not have as many. So my thing is, we don't necessarily have to have 21, but I go back to better to have and not need than to need and not have, because I don't want to narrow it too much. I can understand 21 being too many, but by golly, once you get in there and you need these people and their expertise, and I know the apples and oranges scenario, but I only see either apples or only oranges. If one task force can have 20 people, why can't ours? That's the end of my story tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I just don't want, I don't want anybody to be confused about what we're talking about. The legislation that's on the floor is the Public Works Task Force. And I know the Alderwoman's concerned about the makeup and the future amendments, but that's for another meeting.
Okay.
You know, right now we're talking just solely about the Public Works facility.
I was just responding to Alderwoman Tierney's comments. That's what I was responding to.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you have something more? Okay. So we have it on the floor, an amendment to R-37-19, a friendly amendment. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt R-37-19 as amended on second reader?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Aye.
Alderman Pindell Charles?
Aye.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payette?
Aye.
All right. I see some people here. Like, the City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The agenda is completed.
Anything else for good order? Anybody?
I move that we adjourn. That's definitely for the good of the order.
Okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. All right. Let's hear it for Dwan's first meeting.
Sponsor.